Good morning, everyone. It is Julia Yarbo with Keeping It Real Caregiving on air. Good morning. Happy Sunday. I'm going to get rid of our music here for a second. Actually, I'll leave it up for a moment. Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. It is May 7th, 8:30 a.m., bright and early Pacific time. And thanks so much for joining. It has been a long time since I've seen all of you. And so this is really nice. According to my StreamYard count, there are 25 people on the call. So really nice that you could join early in the morning. Thank you so much. Uh, Now I'm going to pause that music. Love that we can do this on StreamYard. And now I'm going to change screens a little bit. There we go. Good morning. I'm Julia Yarbo, host, creator, content creator of Keeping It Real Caregiving. I am a former broadcast news anchor and reporter, 25 years plus. And so it is my honor and pleasure to be able to take all of those skills, merge that with my passion for wanting to help others learn about family caregiving, to advocate for family caregivers, to understand the systems that are in place that many of us as family caregivers have to learn to navigate. One of the things that I like to say is we don't know what we don't know. So, for those of you who are just joining and who are not completely familiar with Keeping It Real Caregiving, just a quick little background about me. Again, broadcast news anchor, reporter turned family caregiver. I took care of my mother, Nellie Yarbo, for 20 years, the last 5 being heavy duty, hands on caregiving in my home, helping with activities of daily living, helping with medications, doctor's appointments, finding insurance, making sure that the home was safe, all of the realm that goes into family caregiving. So that's a little bit about me. I'm based in Northern California, for those of you who don't know and who want to follow along. So just a couple of little housekeeping items. I'm going to switch screens here. And I'm going to go into my little comment section so I can see if there's anybody in there who wants to leave a comment. And please feel free, if you are joining on Facebook, you, I believe, have the option of commenting as we go through this. And so this morning, really what I wanted to do was just catch up. Our last Keeping It Real Caregiving Sunday Coffee Chat was way back in November. It has been extremely busy since then. And if you missed that particular broadcast, we were talking about grief and loss as a caregiver when it comes to our pets. Fascinating topic. It has been written about, it has been talked about. I urge you to visit keepingitrealcaregiving.substack.com to read that article. And with that, I would like to just start with, how is everybody? If you're out there in internet land and live streaming land, um, how are you? Let me hear from you. Drop something into the chat. Let me know that you're out there. And one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about just how you're doing is, if you have followed news in the last several weeks, I'm going to guess that many of us are feeling some kind of way about all of the activities taking place in our world right now. It feels almost as if every day we wake up and there is a report of another shooting, and it hurts my heart. Good morning, Bridget. Okay, good. I know that we're reaching folks. Thank you. And I don't know about you, but it is extremely overwhelming from day to day. And I try to keep a positive attitude, but it hurts my heart. And when I hear the ages of people that we're losing, and so many stories that are happening in our world impact older Americans. And so, with that, I want to remind all of you that May is Older Americans Month. So, I am going to remove this screen and I am going to pop up this one, but I'm going to make it full screen so that you can see that. There we go. And Mrs. Shug, good morning. Velsivia, good morning. Thank you so much for joining. So, yes, May is Older Americans Month. And I have to be honest, as I was in the middle of caregiving, I don't quite remember hearing about Older Americans Month. And so I want to give you just a little bit of background of what Older Americans Month is. So, this is led by the Administration for Community Living, ACL. It is a governmental entity, and each year the focus is to help people realize that we're all aging. Every single one of us is aging. So I talk clearly about caregiving, but when we think about it, it's not just the roles that we are playing now if we are in the role of family caregiver, it's thinking about our own futures. And so one of the things that I want to make sure to share with all of you is little nuggets of how we can get involved in understanding a lot of these other programs that are out there. So, Older Americans Month, uh, led by the Administration for Community Living, and this year's theme is Aging Unbound. And several of the calls to action that the agency has this year, there are 4 items, and I want to share those with you. If you follow my newsletter, I shared this in a newsletter earlier this week. The newsletter, by the way, again, keeping it real caregiving.substack.com. And so there were 4 points that Aging Unbound, this year's theme. And I want to throw these out there. And anybody who wants to jump in, I want to hear from you. And so the first caveat that they're calling for is embrace the opportunity to change. Find a new passion, go on an adventure, and push boundaries by not letting age define your limits. Invite creativity and purpose into your life by trying new activities in your community to bring in more growth, joy, and energy. So, what do you think about that? I absolutely love that. And again, I'm also looking at the different folks that are on. Good morning, Millie. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Jenna Marie. Nice to see all of you again. Gary, thanks for joining. Elaine, wonderful to have you here. And Brinder, thank you so much for joining in. I'm going to pop up Elaine's comment because I love that we have a mix of people. And that's one of the things that I pride myself, those of you who don't know yet, about Keeping It Real Caregiving is that, we cut across every state, every age group, every background, every ethnicity. We are all in this together. Elaine, I'm an older American. I'm 70 years old and my husband is 85. I am recovering from a knee fracture and my husband is presently my caregiver. Elaine, thank you so much for sharing. That is so crucial that we hear from people. This is what I talk about, advocacy. So for those of you who join in, please know that many of these comments, oftentimes, if I have a reporter reach out to me or another agency lead, and they are looking to identify people who can speak to real stories, I will often share and try to connect you. So don't be surprised if we do that. And Mark, I love that. Yes, I take the time to do things and go out in terms of embracing the opportunity for change. Who else out there has some items that you work on for yourself in terms of embracing the opportunity to change? And remember, this talks about inviting creativity and purpose into your life by trying new activities in your community to bring in more growth, joy, and energy. Anybody? I will share with you some of mine while I'm waiting to hear from some of you. So, as you know, or maybe you don't know, I lost my mother about almost 2.5 years ago. And in that time, slow process of realizing how you move from being full-time caregiver to your own self. And so some of the things that I have refocused on doing, my passion for creating Keeping It Real Caregiving as a platform for us to all just get together and share, but also more time for myself. So I garden more. I make sure that I exercise. I try to find time to just unplug, cook more, not because I have to prepare meals for mom, but to do the things that I enjoy doing. So, who else? What other uh, opportunities for change that you might have in your life? While you're thinking about that, Next caveat to Aging Unbound's theme this year: explore the rewards of growing older. With age comes knowledge, which provides insight and confidence to understand and experience the world more deeply. Continue to grow that knowledge through reading, listening, classes, and creative activities. I love that. I often hear people say, "Oh, I'm getting so old." First, I roll my eyes and think I'm probably old enough to be your mother, so you're not getting old. And number two, much of what we have to think about is we're all aging. We are all aging. And Mark, I see your comment. Uh, Lost dad a year ago. That vacancy that he left behind, I had to fill. And so when we talk about, embracing the opportunities for change, exploring the rewards of growing older, we do move through a transition where our entire lives are focused on just caring for our loved one in between work and ourselves and all of the duties that we have. And when we make that transition to the next phase, it can be very jarring because all of a sudden we have time uh, that maybe we didn't have before. And now that time is focused on us. And what do we do with that time? How do we make sense that, okay, it's okay for me to do things that I enjoy? And I'm going to share this comment with Brenda, and I hope I'm saying your name right. Yes, I take care of mom, 83, with dementia, and I have changed her scenery and something. I have to hire someone to take a mental break by getting away. So crucial to do that. And for those individuals who think, I can't ever have somebody help out, it has to be me, nobody else will do it as good as I do. Yes, do your homework if you have somebody helping you, but also understand that you have to take care of yourself. Study after study indicate that as family caregivers, we are also at risk of increased poor health while we're in the process of taking care of our loved one and then afterwards. And we're going to talk about that coming up as well. And so those mental breaks, I'd be curious, what do you do in those little times, Brenda? Or anything particular that you want to share? And Mark, you said you had to find a new purpose in terms of where's our focus, a new purpose. And so I love that individuals have been able to do this, to say, hey, it's about me now. What is it that I want? I'll be honest, there are days when I think, mom's gone, and I'm spending so much time and focus on keeping it real caregiving. Is there something else that I should be doing? But then I think, no, I this is part of my purpose. And Jenny Marie, pushing and understanding it's one step at a time. So true. My life was put on hold as a 24/7 caregiver for mom and dad. My life is another life since both have died taking care of me. And Jenny Marie, if I'm not mistaken, I think I remember when you mentioned that you had lost, or you were in that moment of saying goodbye to your parents. And so it is a transition of saying, what do I want for me now? And we have Rosalie popping in. Okay, so I'm going to and love it, Mark. And Mark, I know you've been through this heavy duty, hands on. You were in the trenches with dad, and you definitely have to take time for yourself. And Rosalie, I take care of 3 small grandchildren. I feel like I'm going crazy. You're not. I actually have somebody in my family who is taking care of grandchildren, and we often, again, we think of caregiving and we always think elders. Well, what about those that are either sandwich generation, taking care of children and parents, or a grandparent taking care of children? And so I will interject right here and say that I want all of you, before we wrap up today, please visit the website, keepingitrealcaregiving.com. there is a section, if you scroll down through the front page, and I don't have an image of it here, but scroll down through the front page, and there is a section that we're going to talk about the California Coalition for Family Caregiving. And I know many of you may not be in California, but this is a new organization. It's an offshoot of the Area Agency on Aging's here in California. I want you to scroll through there, click on that link, and I want you to sign up, or either sign up for my newsletter so that I can keep you up to date on that, because all of these issues are tied together, and this is where that advocacy comes in. I'm looping back to Jenny Marie, painting, gardening, spending time with me. I love that. There's something about gardening that is so therapeutic, right? I just put in my spring garden. So I'm right there with you, Jenny Marie. What maybe we should have another Keeping It Real Caregiving coffee chat and make sure that we just share garden tips with everybody. And let's see, we also have Brenda says, yes, visit out of town friends a few days just to breathe and regroup. I hire people I know and trust and know her well. Good information for somebody who is new to caregiving. I want you to take note of that. You have to take time for yourself. Hiring people that you know and trust is key. I cannot stress enough to do your homework. All across the country, we're seeing reports of care agencies struggling to find staff, hire staff, train staff, and keep them. So part of what we have to do is educate ourselves. We have to be advocates for ourselves. We have to be advocates for our family members. And we have to do our homework. I urge all of you, if you have been through this or are in it, talk with everybody you know, anyone who will listen. I believe that we have to prepare ourselves well in advance to get ready for the realities of caregiving. I'm scrolling through comments now. So Jacqueline, taking care of 2 children with mental health issues and a veteran husband, 100% disabilities, and I'm going through thyroid cancer and lupus myself. It's hard. Jacqueline, I want you to let us know which state you're in, and you can send it to me during individual or direct message if you wish, or throw it out into the group now of which state you're in. I want to make sure that you have connected with the VA in your local community for any kind of additional services that you and or your husband may be available for. Oftentimes people don't realize that the VA has a lot of those services. They don't necessarily advertise. You have to go find that. So if you're not already tapped into that, I urge you to do so. Make sure you're checking with all of your doctors and your hospital. Find out what other support programs they have in your area. Illinois, I will put a call out. Basically, it's an email send out to the, I'm involved with the American Society on Aging. We have an internal message board where people are shooting notes back and forth. That's one of the reasons I like doing Keeping It Real Caregiving, is that I can take real people, find out what's going on, put out a call for possible help, and see if I can get something back. In fact, I believe that one of my American Society on Aging ASA Rise fellows, who I did a fellowship with, I think they might be in Illinois. I can see if they have somebody who can assist. And in terms of the VA, Jacqueline says, the VA won't even give me caregiver services. I've appealed 3 times. And that's the type of storytelling that we need to make sure your local media knows about, your local legislators know about. Legislators do not like hearing that our veterans are not being cared for. So that is definitely something that we should all tackle together. I'm going to change topic here. Jenny Marie, back to you, stepping back into my independence and growing older. But again, remember, we talked about growing older, thinking about the rewards of growing older, one of which, the next caveat in the Aging Unbound, is staying engaged in your community. Everyone benefits when everyone is connected and involved. which is so true because quite often we don't know about these other programs and services if we're not engaged in the community. Now, I will tell you that I do have a little personal beef with a lot of organizations will reach out to anybody who's 55 plus and say, hey, come volunteer. You've got such great skills. Okay, my personal belief is that why don't they say, hey, you've got such great skills and experience. Why don't we have you work for us part-time? Now, I know this is going out to the internet world and it could be recorded, but I'm okay with that because quite frankly, we're more experienced. We have the skills. We've lived through a lot. Maybe we don't always want to just donate our time because we're valuable. So that's just something to think about as well. I am going through and Jacqueline, I see your comment about the VA. I'm going to come back to that. So, Regina King, older people don't mean much in this society. That's one of the reasons why we're all here. And that is one of the reasons for Older Americans Month. That is one of the reasons for the American Society on Aging. That is one of the reasons that we have so much more talk now about aging in place, ageism, talking about what this all means. Again, I encourage all of you to raise your voices to anyone who will listen. Constantly talk about it. Jenny Marie, I'll become the person for others to call if they need info or conversation about resources. I love it. Jenny Marie, you are a true advocate, and that is what we need in every community. We need more advocates. I often say sharing our stories is advocacy. You are doing that. I'm scrolling through. I'm coming back to Regina now. Regina King, there are people, oh, this is Layla. There are people who care. I am one of them. I do caregiving and I enjoy my work with the elderly as they are just like my parents and grandparents. Cheer up and God bless. Leela, thank you so much for your work and your clients. I know I could not have survived without the wonderful caregivers who I had in my life at different times. And so it is not always easy. And I do, Regina, you said Nevada is a hard state to live in. I am grateful I have God in my life. I'm glad that you mentioned about different states because one of the things that I want to talk about, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. One last comment here. I've become the go-to for everyone as well. I did caregiving for elderly before I got sick. And this is from Jacqueline. But see, this is the connection of what we are doing right here. Once you've been through it, you know the little pitfalls, you know the questions to ask, you know how to help steer people. And so I think of it as this pyramid, not a pyramid scheme, but a pyramid, right? So we have all of us up here who've lived it. And then we trickle down, trickle down, trickle down. And there are always those people who have something come up and all of a sudden they're panicked and they have no idea what they need to do. And Jacqueline, you said that Illinois is definitely hard. So I want to switch gears a little bit now. One final point to the Aging Unbound: form relationships, which is what we're talking about right now. And that's what all of you are doing. I love this. As an essential ingredient of well-being, relationships can enhance your quality of life by introducing new ideas and unique perspectives. And so I think in our particular case with caregiving, it's sharing those resources, sharing those tools. If you've worked with somebody who's phenomenal or an agency that's phenomenal, let your friends and family know. If you've come across somebody who is completely the opposite, let them know that as well. All right, so I want to move on because I want to talk to you since we've talked about different states. One thing that I always share with people is that Keeping It Real Caregiving is non-political. It is apolitical, if you say, right? It's not about left or right or in the middle because we're all getting older. Caregiving doesn't matter, you know, your political beliefs. But how you choose to vote and who you choose to represent you does impact caregiving. And here's why. I want all of you to think about this. Connect the dots between big issues that are happening and how it trickles down to your day-to-day life when it comes to care. And so I want to add to our stream, and I'm going to make this full screen. There we go. I want to talk to you a little bit about, if you've been following the news, the right now, and this information is from Justice in Aging, just so you know. And Justice in Aging is an organization that is all about looking at issues within aging sector for adults, housing, work, making sure that legislation focuses on helping people. Again, I was in the thick of caregiving for many years. I'm a reporter. I'm an anchor. I worked in the news. I had not heard of Justice in Aging until after I got into all of this. So, an amazing resource. So, I want to just bring you up to date in case you have not been following this. And again, keep in mind, I'm not talking politics here, but this is true. This is important to understand. That we have to connect the dots. The House of Representatives is planning to vote on a bill that would severely cut spending and take away food assistance and Medicaid from older adults. It is called the Limit, Save, Grow Act of 2023. Now, if you've been following the news, you may or may not have seen much about this. Again, aging issues a lot of times don't quite make national news, right? The Limit, Save, Grow Act of 2023 would require states to implement work requirements in Medicaid as a condition of federal funding and expand work requirements in the SNAP program to older adults ages 50 to 55, cutting their grocery assistance and harming their families. All right, so that's basically the viewpoint from Justice in Aging. And on your screen, I have the Justice in Aging fact sheet. There, I will share out a link to this a little bit later, but I heard many of you say these different states that you're in, and it's difficult finding help as it is. And if we're a veteran, and if we're working, or if we're not working, or if we're at home taking care of a family member, how are you supposed to go work to get additional help? And as it is, we're looking at an aging population, right? There's something called the 2030 problem, that by 2030, there will be more people 65 plus than any other age group. Okay, so we're already in a situation where we're struggling to find care. I don't know anybody that when you say, "Hey, are you facing caregiving?" everybody raises their hands, right? And everybody is struggling to figure out how to make it all work. And so I want everybody to pay close attention to these issues, the Medicaid work requirements. Now, again, Medicaid, there's a financial threshold, but that's a large number of people who could be impacted by this, right? And quite frankly, we look at titles, and this is called the Limit, Save, Grow Act. But let me ask you, who exactly is growing? If you are already struggling to try to figure out how to work, take care of somebody at home, get additional services, and then you're told, oh, by the way, you have to go work in order to continue getting that care, doesn't seem like we're really thinking about a care economy, right? And so on the second page of the Justice in Aging fact sheet, and I thought this speaks directly to several of you this morning. This is an example. Work requirements would add to the burden of care. If you look at the bottom of this screen. Lisa, age 54, spends at least 50 hours a week taking care of her husband, who is in stage 4 kidney failure and has suffered multiple strokes. Both Lisa and her husband rely on Medicaid. Lisa used to work full-time as a florist while balancing other jobs to make ends meet, but keeping a job is impossible now that she is her husband's sole caregiver. Without Lisa, her husband would likely be forced to go into a nursing facility. Caregiving is difficult. It's round the clock work, and Lisa is exhausted from being up throughout the night. She can't imagine how she could document and report the hours she spent caring for her husband. Yet, if Medicaid required her to work, that's exactly what she would have to do to keep her coverage. All right, so that is exactly what several of you have mentioned that, um, how are you going to do this? So, if any of that resonates with you, anything at all, and again, I'm not being political, but on these sorts of issues, we have to truly dig below the surface and say, wait a minute, am I supporting people who support me? Do they support my community? Do they support caregivers? So I'm going to change that out and I want to share with you. This is a letter, a pre-made letter created that you can send to your local legislators. The US House of Representatives has passed a bill that includes radical work rules for Medicaid enrollees 19 to 55 in exchange for lifting the debt ceiling. All right, so that's going on right now. We don't hear a lot about that in the news, this level of it. I will make sure that I drop a link to this, but this is the pre-made letter. I have already sent mine to my local legislator. And so while you think about that, um, let's go through some of our comments. Elaine, prior to me coming home from my knee fracture, I was in a rehabilitation facility, which is also a nursing home. Skilled nursing facility, for those of you just joining, SNF. Also important to understand the distinction between skilled nursing facility and assisted living. Elaine says, I was there for 20 days. It was a horrible place. So now my heart is with those seniors who are there for the long term. I live in Florida. Elaine, I'm glad that you have recovered, but I'm also glad that you had that experience because, again, we are all advocates. Okay. When you are living in a state that continues, and I say a state, meaning any state, if you are in a state where your local representatives are not paying attention to the real issues of aging, but they're just bickering back and forth from left to right to left to right. Okay, everybody has different beliefs, but guess what? If we are not taking care of all of us as people, then we're just talking heads. We need to hold people accountable for making sure that those sorts of experiences that Elaine saw don't happen. The more we are educated and the more we are advocates, the more I believe we can change that. I will let Glennis and Regina kind of go back and forth on that one. Jacqueline Cox, I would love to have you as a guest on my show when you have time to speak. Yes, we should connect. Jacqueline, we will. We'll shoot each other a note. Simone, thanks for joining in. Melanie, thanks for joining in. I'm going to go back to Glennis here. I'm a caregiver to my elder sister with special needs, trying to get us a bigger place to live. We're in a one-room bedroom. I feel extremely stressed and lonely. Glennis, I'm glad that you joined us this morning because I don't want you to feel that you are all alone. I'm not saying it's easy because it isn't. I think you said, which state are you in, Glennis? I will throw this out to everybody. This week, if you have not already connected with your area agency on aging, that is the first place to start so that you can learn what services may be available in your area. If you are in California, the state right now has a fairly robust network of area agencies on aging. I am going to actually put that link in the chat. And as soon as I find it, area, there we go. And so this one will take you to most of the agencies throughout the state, and then it breaks it down into county by county. All right. So that's the first place to start. So I want everybody, regardless of where you live, to check out your area agency on aging. Jenny Marie, again, I had to leave working out of office, started my own business to support me while giving full care to a parent. I hear many people who are doing that. One of the things that I would like to start doing with Keeping It Real Caregiving is connecting those who are creating businesses from home so that we can find each other. And again, I'm scrolling through these so that we can just interconnect. So, all right, I want to move on. I want to be mindful of your time. So I'm going to take down this screen and want to give you a quick update of what has been happening with Keeping It Real Caregiving. And as you can see, there's a lot of information out there. And so I talk a lot about advocacy, right? And one of the reasons for that is that I am realizing that we have to constantly talk about it. So this is the first thing that I wanted to mention. California Coalition on Family Caregiving. I have information on this on my website, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this. In fact, you know what? Let me go ahead and do this and give you the link in the chat again so that you can find the information. I'm going to give you homepage of my website. I'm going to come back over here, copy, paste, put that in there. And Glennis, I see your comment. Jersey City family deceased, and I don't want to abandon her. She's 63, I'm 59, and it's extremely difficult. Actually, I'm going to pop that up so everybody else can see it too. Okay, yes. In New Jersey. I am not completely familiar with New Jersey's CARE platform, but I do want you to reach out to your area agency on aging. Start there. Also, double check with your hospital, whatever local hospital you have, to see if they have any classes on making sure that you're caring. And I think I think this is your sister, right? So that you get that extra care and guidance that may help you. This is why, even on those times, folks, when I think, what am I doing? I lost mom more than 2 years ago. I need to get on with my life. Why am I spending so much of my time and energy still in the caregiving field? When I hear stories like Glennis, that's why, because I go to different meetings with agencies, organizations, top level down of policy, and nobody is talking about these sorts of stories of that daily hands-on, how do I survive? So I'm really excited that I have a foot in both worlds because I'm determined to bring those together. So with that, I want to bring you up to speed on a couple of things that have been happening since we last met. So I took the time to create what I called, it's a little news feed that I may stop it. So in fact, I'm going to roll it back because it went so fast. So in March, I was invited to speak at the Association of Healthcare Journalists Conference in St. Louis. I talk about advocacy, and here's why. Because I presented on a panel to a room full of national journalists, one of whom has done a story, including the work of Keeping It Real Caregiving, another who reached out to me to find other caregivers for a story that she was working on. Advocacy. We have to continue telling our stories, even on those days and times when you're really tired. I want you to continue speaking up. And so at this, I had the opportunity to also meet the woman in the middle. That audio is loud, isn't it? The woman in the middle is Dr. Jennifer Olson. She is the CEO of the Rosalind Carter Institute for Caregiving. And so one of the reasons that's important is that I have continued to have conversations with that organization to learn how Keeping It Real Caregiving might be able to do more work with them, share information, somehow partner, connect, right? And so it's a trickle down. And I hate to use that term, but it really is. It is a trickle down of all of us connecting, taking it up to the next level. One thing I want you to understand, all of you who are in the thick of this, the aging industry is considered the aging industry, which means there are a lot of national, regional players. We have to keep raising our voices so that the chain of communication from top to bottom continues. So this was an amazing conference to be at. A lot of interesting people that I met. Another interesting person that I met at this conference was Dr. Jerome Adams. Who's familiar, is the former U.S. Surgeon General. He talked a lot about health equities across communities, and again, why it's important for all of us to speak up. Shortly after that conference, I had the opportunity to go to the American Society on Aging in Atlanta. But here are 3 other fellows of the American Society on Aging ASA RISE fellowship program that I did last year that I talked about. And I can tell you that all 3 of these individuals, the gentleman, Dr. Norman Jackson, is here in California as well. Jennifer Horn is in Colorado, and Lauren Ruiz, I believe, is in Missouri. All work within different agencies to educate people, to connect with resources. And they talk a lot also about connecting the dots, that our goal is to help people understand that the choices they're making on a short local level are also impacting on a national level. And so these are just some of the highlights that we've been working on. Actually, this woman is another colleague. We looked at the largest building that was in Next Avenue. And this woman, if she looks familiar to those of you who have been working together for a while, Dr. Toni Miles, she is an epidemiologist and a researcher in the field of aging, and she focuses on aging, loss, and grief. We have featured her in a couple of Keeping It Real Caregiving interviews in the past. I urge you to take a look at those. If you go to the newsletter, keepingitrealcaregiving.substack.com, and do a search for grief and loss, you will pop up to Dr. Miles's interview stories. And there were just a couple of things that happened between last net. Really busy. Just wanted to pop this up so that you have all the ways that you can get a hold of me. You can email me direct. You don't have to be on this live platform. info@juliayarbomediagroup.com. Clearly, you're here on the Facebook group because you're in the chat, so you know how to find us there. You can visit the newsletter. Please subscribe to the newsletter. I have learned that so much of what happens is power in numbers. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Share it with family and friends. Ask them to subscribe. If you feel it in your heart and you want to have a paid subscription to help support this work, by all means, I would love to have you do that. So all the different ways that we can connect. I am going to pop up this other comment right here. Lynn, congratulations as one of the caregivers of the year for the Rosalind Carter Institute for Caregivers. I love that. And Lynn, you said it very well, that it's about getting involved and connecting with your area agency on aging. Each region has something different, but it's up to us to then go and find those items. All right, so it's 9:15. We have exactly 15 minutes left. I think I timed this out pretty good. I was thinking like a news producer this morning when I put all or over the weekend when I put all of this together. So I want to talk to you a little bit now. I want to wrap things up with a topic that I want all of you to think about. If you haven't already, palliative care. I wish I could say by a show of hands, tell me who knows what palliative care is. Okay, I did not. I cared for mom for many years. We were in and out of hospitals repeatedly. Not one doctor, not one care team member, no one mentioned to me, Julia, your mom has chronic illnesses. Perhaps you should have palliative care. I didn't even know what that was. So I spoke to a woman who is a that's what she does for a living. So I want to share with you a quick interview with her. And you can also find the written interview in the newsletter, Keeping It Real Caregiving .substack.com for her full interview. And before I play that, I just want to share this quick comment from Simone. I've been my husband's caregiver for the past 22 years. We lost our home last year due to building issues that flooded us out, and we've moved 3 times since then. To say I'm exhausted is an understatement. I'm now going to get my long overdue checkup for myself. Okay, Simone, I wish I could give you a big hug right now. I know that's not going to help your home. Depending on what state you're in, there's another program that I recently featured in the newsletter. Habitat for Humanity is starting to really pay close attention to the aging population and helping people remain in their homes. I want you to reach out to your local Habitat for Humanity office. Ask if they are doing that program yet. If not, they may be able to work with you or point you in the right direction. Oftentimes, there are small nonprofits that are doing this type of work that they don't have the budgets to promote and let people know that they're out there. You're in South Florida, Simone Willis. You're in South Florida. Okay, that's my stomping grounds. I'm trying to think of who else I'm working with down there in Florida. Let me think on that. I have all of these chats in my stream. So I do have a gentleman who is also a fellow ASA Rise fellow who is based out of Florida. I may be able to connect you with him. So with that, let me share with you. And let's see, why is that music going on? Let me get rid of that music. Okay, here we go. I think this is the right one. Uh-oh, did I put the wrong one in here? I think I did. All right, so hold on 2 seconds, folks. Let me upload this other video. Here we go. The thing with StreamYard is sometimes it's hard to tell exactly which video you're loading. Here we go.
So palliative care is care for people with serious illness. What we like to say is at any age and any stage of serious illness. So for example, we often see patients because maybe they've been diagnosed with cancer or they have some kind of a chronic organ disease process, heart failure, could be kidney disease. My younger patients, it tends to be often an accident, so maybe there's been a head trauma or they've been paralyzed. Some kind of a life-changing diagnosis has occurred.
How do you learn about what's available for palliative care?
How do you access that? So that depends on your region, on the local hospital. More of your bigger hospitals, your major medical centers, your academic medical centers recognize and will have a fully staffed palliative care team. With any acute illness, an older person might become confused, even delirious. And the care team may not really understand what is their normal baseline, and having that care partner who can help to make that assessment and help communicate as to, yes, this would be normal for them, or no, this is not normal for them. That's really key. I've often wondered, how do families do this if they don't have that person in the family who can even help translate this complicated medical information?
Okay, so thoughts on palliative care. And again, thank you to Dr. Aldebra Schroll. You can find, in fact, I will put that article link into our chat as well, so you can access that quickly. I have a hard time saying that word access. I don't know why. Here, I was on air all those years, and there are just some words I can't say. That's one of them. All right, so there's the article. Oops, let me hit send. There we go. Palliative care. Any thoughts on that? Has anybody tapped into those services? Again, I stumbled on that, and then I asked my doctors about it, and I can honestly tell you that they kept trying to push me to hospice. And I said, I don't want hospice. Mom is not at a point where she's ready for hospice, but I need to understand how it all fits together, because I had a neurologist telling me one thing, and then I had a primary care telling me something else, and then I had a podiatrist telling me something, and then we had somebody treating her for her diabetes and telling me something different. And, it was all very confusing. And so Dr. Schroll's information that palliative care is, in fact, I'm going to read it exactly how she wrote it. She said, and again, and Dr. Schroll is a family caregiver as well. So she says, what to know about palliative care. That was my title. Assisting patients and families to navigate our complex medical system is the role of palliative care, a specialized service for any age, any stage of serious and chronic illness. The emphasis is on individual care, symptom management to enhance quality of life and to address the stress of illness. Treatment is centered on the whole patient, mind, body, and spirit. Specialty services are provided by an interdisciplinary team of trained experts, including physicians, nursing, social workers, and chaplains who focus on multiple domains of care, starting with the physical status and including psychological, social, spiritual, and cultural issues. Together, the team provides whole person care. Patients may continue curative treatment such as chemotherapy, radiation, or surgeries. Current recommendations are to introduce palliative early in the course of serious illness, not waiting for a crisis. Hospice care is palliative care for patients with a terminal diagnosis. Hospice treatment is focused on symptom management to allow for a natural death. The place of care is usually in the home, skilled nursing, or assisted living facility, although larger urban areas are more likely to have a dedicated hospice facility. So this was direct from Dr. Schroll, and in her article, she wraps up by saying, our family's experience only served to confirm my commitment to this work. Being there for other families as they walk this path is my role. Palliative care is truly person-centered. So when we think about that, I'm going to pop this image that I have of palliative care back up. Or I thought I had an image of it. I guess I don't. When we think about that, how many of you actually had your doctors tell you? Let's see here. Jenna Marie, palliative care wasn't an option for us with dementia per agencies. And LG, I did it with my mom. It was great service for my family. I would love to hear more of what your experience was. Did they talk with you? Did they walk you through it? What did you learn? Could you perhaps put in the chat maybe 2 things that you would advise other people to do or to ask, or how to broach that? Layla says spiritual care, which is so important. And Melanie, I'm going to pop in here to you. We recently lost our mom. It will be 2 months on the 19th of May. My condolences to you. Go easy on yourself. It was all very confusing. You have to be a constant advocate for your loved one or whomever you are caring for. Exactly. And, it's overwhelming enough just thinking about what we have to do, right? And we're dealing with all of our emotions. And then at the same time, we have to be the ones who are the advocates. And so I want to make sure that the more we know, then we can just be prepared. Jenny Marie, I'm right there with you on the whole death certificate and how it's labeled. All hospice agencies, literally 3, said dementia, Alzheimer's wasn't a terminal disease. Mom's death certificate said she died from Parkinson's. I thought that was interesting. Yeah, a whole nother topic for another day, but that is definitely something that I want to look into as well, because it may not be categorized as a terminal disease, but at end stage, this person is still dealing with the same things that a terminal disease end stage patient would be dealing with. And to your point, Lynn, yes, my uncle was 68, Down syndrome. He has that care. I'm glad that you have that. Believe me, if you don't ask questions, stay on it, they will not tell you. Bingo. Lynn, you said it extremely well. We have to be the advocates. We have to be the ones that are constantly asking questions, staying on top of things, taking care of ourselves. So we could go on and on because we've all been there. But I do want to just say, we have 3 minutes, and I'm being mindful of everybody's time, that the more we share and talk and support one another, I do believe that the ship can change. And after all, none of us is getting any younger. I mean, if you are, you want to share with the rest of us how you're doing it. But for all practical purposes, this is the future and the reality that we're looking at as well. If we don't stay involved, become advocates, share information, think about the choices that we're making across the board. I want to go back to, justice and aging. So many of their programs look at just the verbiage of programs and how they're implemented and how they're impacting people. So educate ourselves about all of that, connect the dots. And we're going to wrap it up now. I want to say thank you for joining. Please follow Keeping It Real Caregiving. You can, my brain is getting foggy. I need more coffee, but I just wanted to share this. Glynis, thank you. I'll go back through the chat so I can try to connect you with the appropriate people, and always feel free to reach out, folks. You can find me at my email, info@juliayarbomediagroup.com. You can sign up for the newsletter, and please, please, please subscribe to the newsletter. keepingitrealcaregiving.substack.com. Do I post as regularly as I previously did? I do not. I work full time and crazy work schedule, but I'm still passionate about this, and I want to be able to help people. And so please, please, please sign up for the newsletter so that you can stay plugged in. That way you can contact me. You can leave comments in the chat. You can email me. Go back through past articles. A lot of information over the last 2 years with back and forth about the things that you should know. So with that, thank you, all of you, Layla, Millie, Lynn, Melanie, Ursula, Glynis, Mark, Melanie, LG, Layla. I'm just scrolling through. Thank you, all of you, for being here this morning. I know it's a Sunday, so I appreciate it. But get out there, enjoy your day. If you're spending time for yourself, relax, do something good for yourself. I'm going to go get some more coffee and probably get into the garden a little bit. It's a beautiful day here. And so thank you again. Keeping It Real Caregiving.com is the website. keepingitrealcaregiving.substack.com is the newsletter. Have a great day, everybody. And I will keep you posted on the next time that we schedule a coffee chat. Bye, everybody. Have a great day. Be safe.